This episode of The Grit Files was brought to you by Koya, Performance for Life. Koya combines wearable technology with behavioral science to help you unlock your energy and perform at your highest level. Their coaches have worked with Olympians, Super Bowl MVPs, World Series champions, and other elite performers, and now they're bringing that same level of support to everyday high achievers. This holistic 12-week program focuses on sleep, exercise, nutrition, mindset, self-care, and immune function, blending biometric data with one-on-one coaching and cutting-edge education. You'll receive a wearable like an Oura Ring, Whoop, or Garmin to track sleep, HRV, and activity, but Koya goes beyond data. You're supported by an elite team that includes a dietitian, sleep coach, movement specialist, and mental performance coach, all helping you build sustainable habits that actually fuel long-term performance and longevity. If you're ready to generate more energy and show up stronger in your work, your training, and your life, Koya's built for you. And as a member of the Grit Files community, you get 30% off the program. Visit koya.life to learn more. Hello. Welcome to episode 4 of the Grit Files. I'm your host, Laura Reynolds. And today I have with me Teresa Knox, who's a full-time project manager and consultant for a credit union. And she's the mom to Morgan and Jacob Knox. And Morgan, for those of you who don't know, is the producer with Red Dog Agency and the mastermind behind the Grit Files. So Teresa is with us today, kind of in support of the quote that we have behind us today. It's your diagnosis is not your life sentence. It's a part of your story. And we are going to unpack that today as Teresa is a cancer survivor and a full-time mom and a full-time employee, all of the things. So we're going to walk through Teresa's journey today. Teresa, welcome to the Grit Files. I want to talk a little bit about, before we get into the nitty gritty of the diagnosis itself. And I know a lot of people out there, a lot of listeners, if they haven't been personally touched by cancer, they know somebody who is. We're in a world now where all of us have some level of experience with cancer. And I don't think that it's easy for everyone. And it becomes a definitive moment in people's lives. You know, there was before cancer and then there was after cancer. And I think there's so much in between that is worth unpacking. So I'm glad that we get the opportunity to unpack that here with you. But before cancer, what did it look like in the season that led up to your 45th birthday? When you think back of that version of yourself, the one who had no idea that it was coming, who were you before cancer?
A mom.
Yeah.
I would say that at that point defined me. The kids were in probably middle school. So it was, Morgan might have been in her first year of high school. So it was right around that time. So I was all the way in. We were invested in sports. Both kids played just about everything they could.
Yes.
My husband coached them in about everything. So being a mom, sports, and work.
Yeah.
At the time I worked at a credit union. And so that was me.
And if I recall in my conversations with Morgan, you have never personally identified as an athlete. You have never actually played as an athlete on a field. And here you are showing up as a full-time parent and like the number one cheerleader for your kid. And I think that happens a lot. You know, the mom becomes the biggest supporter, whether they know anything about the sport or not.
I enjoyed every game. It was actually kind of like, I felt like my husband and I had to figure out who we were again after they were out of college.
Yeah.
There was no more sports.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now what do we do?
Well, and the same thing happens to kids. Like, it's an identity moment where you're like, who are we now? We've been these characters for so long. And I think that happens to so many parents. And in tandem, it's happening to the kids that have identified as athletes. Like, once they get out of college, who the heck am I? Like, this is what I've known for forever. So I can imagine that there was a moment of that. And on top of all of that and navigating, you know, who you were, what your identity was outside of being the sports mom, the day before you turned 45, you were told that you had a very rare form of cancer. Can you take us into that moment where you were? What did it feel like in your body when you heard the words, you have cancer?
it was, I guess, really scary. I'm not going to lie. And because when I had I had been sick for 2 weeks, and I just thought I had pneumonia or something.
Yeah.
So finally thought, okay, I've got to go to the emergency room. I've waited too long. Sorry. And when by the time you wait through everything and they see you and they run tests, a doctor came in at 10:30 at night, and when he said, I have a cancer specialist coming here in a half an hour, I'm like, they don't bring somebody in
Not for pneumonia
at 10:30 at night,
right?
If it isn't kind of serious. And so, and they also I don't want to say they had it wrong at first, but they had me thinking it was worse than it's through your whole stomach and this kind of stuff. But once, after a couple days, then I got the real diagnosis.
Yeah. And I imagine that's kind of a numbing moment.
And the waiting. I don't want to knock any hospitals, and I'm not going to say any, but there was,
we know that. We know who you are.
Yeah. But the one was just concerned more in, we want your biopsies. We want to see this. We want to see that. We have to do our own scans. We won't take the doctor's scans. Now that's going to take another week for another. It's just, they put me off. And I finally left there. And I get that what I have was rare, and what a teaching moment, and what a way to learn. But at that point, I need to get better.
Right. You're like, please don't learn on me.
Yeah.
I have a family.
Learn on me, but can you do it while you're getting me better? Not before.
Right.
Because in my eyes, it's just getting worse every day. So
yeah,
get me better. You can prod all you want afterwards.
Right.
Kind of thing.
And if I'm getting the timeline right, you had a blip of a moment after the diagnosis itself where it was kind of hopeful. The plan was to go forward and operate. So you go home to Morgan and to Jake, and you say, all right, this is twofold. I have cancer, but don't worry, because they're going to operate. And almost instantly, it seems, after telling your kids about the surgery, you were told it was inoperable. The cancer had spread too far, and they wanted to talk to you about life expectancy. So here you were, hopeful for a millisecond, and then they're talking to you about days, months that you have to live, and you stopped them. And you said, no, I don't want to put a date on this thing. I'm going to be okay. Something in you said, I don't care what you're about to tell me as far as my life expectancy. Like, I'm going to be okay. So what made you say that?
So I don't think you should ever. I don't care how much faith you have, how strong you are in your faith, how much you have a good outlook. When someone says a date, no matter how hard you try, that's going to be in the back of your mind. So I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Don't say it. And it was funny. One of my girlfriends would always go with me to my doctor's appointments, but they did it because they said, you're not probably all there to hear everything.
Right.
One of them took a notepad. Like, she wrote.
Oh, we love this type of friend. Oh my gosh.
She would ask the doctor,
protect this woman at all costs.
Yes.
Oh.
It was awesome. So it was actually with me the day that they were going to give me a date, and I said, no, please don't do that. I don't want to hear it. He said, no, we need to talk about. She's little and a Spitfire, and she stood up and she said, she told you no date, no date.
Well, and you do. I mean, I've talked about it in a previous episode, but I have a sibling that I needed to kind of advocate for in a mental health and addiction journey. And sometimes it does take somebody else to advocate for you because you're just not there. Like, you're not in a space where even if you think you're clear on things, you're sick.
I certainly thought I was. Like, I'm like, I hear what they've told me so far. I got ears.
Right.
That's not the problem. I can do this. But they were right, because I would come home and Stuart would say, what do you say? Well, just that, and I'd give a one sentence answer. And I guess I just forgot certain things.
Yeah.
And
just a little bit going on.
yeah,
Full-time job, full-time mom, going to all of the sports things. And then, oh, ma'am, you might not be able to live to see the next games. Like, I can imagine that no one would be thinking clearly. So it's so great that you do have somebody that was there willing to advocate for you during that moment. And that same doctor that originally told you, let's talk life expectancy, you said no. He kind of persisted and said, well, we'll talk about it during the next appointment. And that was your last visit with that doctor. You walked out and they said they couldn't operate. It had the potential to feel like a door closing, and a lot of people would maybe stop there because they're doctors, right? They're professionals. So you think they probably know what they're talking about. But how did you find the courage to keep searching for another option when you were actively getting sicker? Like, you weren't getting better as you were pushing forward in this journey to find other opinions. You were actively getting much sicker. So,
and it wasn't, I always said it was weird about this whole, the whole cancer that I had. I never once had a pain. It was all nausea.
Yeah. Ooh.
So,
having been pregnant, I don't know, that's worse sometimes.
Sometimes I think it's worse. But,
right.
Because you're not sick enough, but you are, because you just want to lay down and close your eyes all the time. So that's where I was, like, through all of that. That's actually how I knew I was sick. I just kept getting nauseous and thought, oh, I've got, one time I had pneumonia, and that's kind of how I felt. So I just related it to that's what I had.
Yeah.
But
and you didn't get the pleasure of laying down and taking a nap. You still had to push forward and say, actually, I'm going to research this a little bit, and I'm going to find some other opinions here. I'm not going to let this door close just yet.
And that was a hospital known for cancer.
Yeah.
And helping people with cancer.
Yeah.
So a lot of...
And I was shocked to hear it. We're not mentioning names here today. We're not doing that. But when I was talking to Morgan about the various hospitals that were involved, it was alarming, because when you think about, and I've had family members that have been touched, with cancer and had to experience cancer. And I would have thought that's where we go. That's what we've been told to do. That's where we're told to go. And they pretty quickly told you, no go. Like, can't do it.
When the local hospital sent me there, I was like, oh, thank God. Like, that's a great,
you're in good hands.
Place to go. Yes. And it wasn't so much, we absolutely will not operate. It was, we really got to talk about this. We're not so sure. And they talked about having to bring in, like, they would need 4 doctors. They'd need a transplant doctor. They needed a thoracic surgeon. They needed someone who had a specialty in a Whipple. And where I ended up going, the man had all of that. One man, and he did all of that.
Yeah.
So when they first got me in and were talking about the surgery, they were talking weeks out scheduling it, because they had to get all these people coordinated.
Right.
And then they got to the point to where they were like, no.
This guy's like, what are you doing tomorrow?
Honestly,
what are you doing in 10 hours?
When I went to that hospital, he said to me, if you weren't on a chemo pill, I'd do it immediately right now. But you got to get that out of your system for 2 weeks. So I had to wait.
Yeah. And that chemo pill was actually from a previous doctor who had said, kind of, this is your option. This is what we can do.
They told me I'd be on it the rest of my life. I haven't taken it since.
Yeah.
My surgery.
And I've known a lot of people that have been given that same, and you follow the directions thinking, I'm in good hands. Like, I'm taking all the orders. And you'd have to advocate for yourself to know different.
And the doctor that did the surgery actually said to me, because it was supposed to kind of shrink the tumor, and it wasn't happening. He said, you're 1 in 3% of people who are resistant to the chemo. It did
of course
nothing.
You
so
are.
I took it for a year, and it made me sicker. It made you nauseous. Took this pill every day, because traditional chemo wouldn't work, radiation wouldn't work.
Right.
So this was my only, and it was fairly new drug at the time. But so I finally found this patch The doctor gave me a patch. I changed once a week, and I started living normal. I went back to work before my surgery.
Yeah. Well, and two, I think if I'm remembering correctly, he had actually said to you, you have an autoimmune disorder on top of all of this. Because cancer itself, a rare form, was not wild enough. You have an autoimmune disease that impacts your lymph nodes.
Yeah.
And previous doctors had really fixated on like what's going on with the lymph nodes and like that's impacted by the cancer. This doctor took a different approach and said, I'm scrapping all this focus on the lymph nodes because I think that this is a symptom of the autoimmune disease.
It's trying to fight it.
Yes,
that's why they keep getting
they're enlarged because they're fighting cancer, but they themselves, he didn't believe, were cancerous. So not only did he go and operate and do this operation that everyone else said was impossible, but he also ran some lab tests on the lymph nodes, and wouldn't you know, they're cancer-free. It had nothing to do with the lymph nodes, and that's what all of the other doctors had focused on. So here we are. It took you pushing to advocate for yourself and you pushing for answers when you were basically told on 2, if not 3 separate occasions, we're sorry. Like we can give you days, not options.
And networking and just knowing people, I will say that is kind of what got me where I got. So while I was advocating for myself as well, I also knew that getting on the internet would scare you to death. Everything I saw was horrible.
I've been dying 8,700 times because I've done a Google search or a Wikipedia search.
So I kind of was
I am on the way out.
But it was the second hospital I went to, Morgan had a visit at Hofstra to be recruited for lacrosse. And I was sick, but I wasn't missing it. So
right. Of course you weren't.
And
you'll learn that this is who she is, folks. She doesn't miss a thing.
I met a mother of another girl that was already on the team who was going to this hospital, had cancer, and she said, you have to see my doctor. Like, if no one's doing anything for you, please, I will reach out.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to the second hospital. I was there for a year. And they're the ones who put me on the Gleevec, the chemo pill. And then they eventually, said they wouldn't. The third hospital is where Morgan's classmate, her mother came. I was at a volleyball game, went to a volleyball game.
Yeah, I remember Morgan telling me.
She said to me, would you be opposed? And I had just probably 2 days ahead of time been told they weren't going to do any surgery. And she said, would you be opposed to seeing one of our doctors? We have excellent cancer doctors. I said, I got nothing to lose. Sure.
Yeah, why not?
And so that's how she actually called me the next day. He got me in like the following day. So he saw me right away.
Yeah.
And it was just, he was awesome. If he said, if it did spread, don't you want to know?
Yeah.
Like, we need to get in and see what we're dealing with. And
when you were also young at the time, you were 45, and he made the comment to you of, you're so young. Why didn't anybody want to try?
Yes.
You weren't 70 years old. You weren't even 60 years old. You're 45. And that was his response to you. It's like, geez, didn't anyone want to try?
Yeah.
What a doctor.
And
because you don't see that now, you know?
And I'm always careful, and this is why I won't say hospital names, but when I called the doctor at the second hospital back and said, I'm sorry, but I'll be leaving, I found a doctor who's going to do the surgery, and he's going to do it in 2 weeks. And he said, can I ask who it is? And I told him, and he goes, do it. He is incredible. He said,
sir, where was your recommendation a year ago?
He said,
hi.
He was my roommate in college. And he is incredible. And he said, I pushed for your surgery constantly in our meetings, but they would never approve it.
Well, I hope this man has resigned since and joined the other hospital.
Well, and I think a part of me got really mad. Like, I get that's his job.
Yeah.
And you can't talk ill of your hospital, or you're probably not allowed to send somebody away. But this is someone's life. Why couldn't he have taken me to the side and say, I know a doctor in the area who you probably should go see.
Yeah.
They might can do something.
Well, and it makes you wonder how often that's happening, you know?
Yes.
And what plays into that? What sort of politics play into that, you know?
Get more opinions.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. I couldn't agree more. Want to talk about motherhood in the middle of survival, because that was happening. You were still showing up. You were refusing to not. You had a major surgery right before Morgan's senior prom. You still showed up, and we're going to say it because I can't believe, like, this just goes to show. So the surgery had just happened. Morgan's senior prom was the following Saturday. You were supposed to wait, I believe, a full 10 days. You're like, this is, I think, 9. Can you sneak me out, and can I get there to take pictures? You roll up to senior pictures with your colostomy bag.
I had 3 bags, 2 or 3 bags.
Yes, proudly, and took Morgan's pictures. Morgan's probably like, oh my God.
I look back at those now, though. I look so bad, but I was there.
You were there.
All that matters.
And Morgan and I have talked about that, and we've talked about the picture of you with the bags and with Morgan. But what mattered most to you about being there in that moment? Like, you had just, I mean, you're in recovery mode. This was a massive surgery. This was something that, you know, takes a huge toll on your body. So what mattered most to you about showing up in that moment?
It wasn't an option. It was her senior homecoming. All the parents were there. Everyone's taking pictures. I'm not going to be there for my daughter.
Yeah.
In the pictures. Like, it just
didn't even cross your mind. There was no...
It wasn't, like I said, the only way I wouldn't have done it is if they absolutely told me I could not leave the hospital and took my clothes, because I probably would have found them.
I'm sure you would have snuck out. Knowing you.
I can't say what made me do it. It just wasn't an option.
Yeah. This one, I feel like I know my answer, or your answer for you, because of the type of person you are. But I know, being a parent who's, for all intents and purposes, very healthy. But I have tired days where I wake up and I'm like, I cannot show up as a mom today. Like, I can't show up with a smile on my face today. Things are hard. I'm navigating these like life, transitions that are very difficult for me. And there are moments for me as a healthy person where it's hard to show up as a parent. Did you ever feel torn between being a patient and a parent at the same time?
I'm sure I did. I mean, I had to push myself some to go. But I will say it was more at that beginning when I was so sick and I didn't have anything for the nausea. And I did miss some things. I mean, I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And I look back. Jake was a freshman in high school. I remember this because I said, I feel like I lost the first 4 months of his, it's just, where was it? Because I was sick. But as soon as I could get up, if I could get up to walk across the room, I could go to a game.
Yeah.
It's not that long. I can sit, I can watch a game.
Clearly. I mean, you proved that a million times. Were there private moments where you allowed yourself to fall apart? Was there, or did you feel like you had to stay strong for them? But I'm imagining where I would be. And I have envisioned myself like scurrying off into the bathroom or in my closet and just getting in the fetal position and being like a total mess. Did you have that?
This is so strange. And I don't even know how I did it. But during that time, I knew if something happened that made me cry, I would lose it. Like, would I ever gather back?
Yeah.
So I would not let myself cry. It's funny because they all had instructions. They couldn't watch anything sad on TV. Like, no sad. And if I ever started feeling sorry for myself. It had to stop because I knew. So I truly didn't cry. But when it was all over, I want to say it was probably
Cried for a month.
The surgery was over. I want to say it might have been 2 or 3 weeks later. It wasn't immediate.
Yeah.
I was just getting ready for work or something in the bathroom one morning, and it couldn't have been work because I wouldn't have been back yet, I don't think. But I lost it.
Yeah.
And I probably cried and cried hard for 20 minutes, and that was done.
20 minutes in this whole journey. 20 minutes that you allowed yourself to just completely unravel.
I can cry to drop of a hat.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't let myself because I don't think that's everybody. I wouldn't tell somebody that was good.
Yeah.
At all, because I think you need that release. It was what I needed.
Right.
To do.
And I think that that's true of anyone, is that even though diagnoses can be very similar or the same across people, how you process it and how you navigate through it and move through it is very different.
So I constantly kept busy.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to go back to work. So as soon as they got the nausea regulated, I went back to work. And everybody kept saying, why don't you just relax? Because I need to be thinking of something else. I need to go to the kids' games and enjoy myself. Sitting here in this house, laying down, is just thinking and thinking.
Yes. I identify with that one big time.
I had to keep busy.
Yeah. Yeah. That one resonates for me big time. Let's talk a little bit about you again, which is what happens for you. You get these blips of, all right, after surviving cancer, many people expect that the story ends there. You made it through this thing. You advocated for yourself. Yours did not end there. What was it like to then be told you needed a lung transplant? Congratulations, you're cancer-free, but you need some lungs.
Well, when I was first told, down the road, you're going to need a lung transplant, I'm thinking, yeah, when I'm 80. I'm just...
Right.
Again, if I put it out of my mind, it's down the road, I'm not going to worry about it. Did come up quicker than I expected.
Yeah.
Guess the doctor knew what he was talking about.
And I think Morgan learned about this from the doctor. If I remember, she's sitting across from you and she's like, hold on, I'm sorry. What?
The ambulance I had to call.
Yeah.
I found out.
So.
I didn't tell them when they first
Right, you're like, I
obviously
slipped my mind.
Why Morgan goes to all my doctor's appointments now, because I don't tell them everything. Even through the cancer, when it was all over, both my parents and Stuart kind of let me have it, that they didn't know how bad things were.
Yeah.
But
who would?
They didn't need to know.
Yeah.
Was my thought. Like, if something happened, something was going to happen. That was the way it was supposed to be. But I had a good feeling that it was going to be fine. I have a lot of faith. So when I went into the surgery and when I go into it this time, my outlook is, if I come through it, that is wonderful. That is what I'm shooting for, what I'm praying for. If I don't, I know I'll be okay too. So it's all okay either way.
Yeah. Jeez. Here it comes, folks. I just want to let everybody know out there, we've got the tissues ready because this one gets harder as we progress through this. But how did it feel emotionally to move from cancer survivor to transplant candidate?
We've been through this before. We can do it again.
Yeah. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You've been bypassed now twice for a transplant.
Yeah.
How do you...
Probably more than that. I just don't know. I know about two.
And I mean, that's when you're talking about waiting, just to put some perspective on it, you're now a year into waiting since the last time you were bypassed, right? So how do you process hope when it keeps getting delayed?
I don't know, but I'm okay with it. I think that everything happens for a reason and God has a plan. So I'm not going to lie that I wasn't disappointed when those two happened. However, I look at it as either that wasn't going to work for me and could have been worse, or somebody else needed it more.
Yeah.
And that's how I have to look at that. And I don't pray for the set of lungs to come because I'm praying for someone to pass away. So I just pray for God to take care of everything in due time.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to get into the faith part of that very shortly, actually, because I know that that's a big piece of this for you, as I'm sure it is for other people, and it's not really something that's talked about. So I definitely want to touch on that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the invisible grief, because I feel like this is a big one for people that are in it, that maybe no one's, unless you've experienced cancer yourself or some sort of disease yourself. The invisible grief of just aesthetically what you're going through, physically what you're going through. You now carry, for those of you that are not watching on YouTube, for those of us that are listening via Spotify, Teresa carries an oxygen tank, something very visible. What does it feel like when your illness becomes something that the world can physically see? Because, you know, I feel like we're all guilty of, and I've probably been passively this person where I'm like, oh, who cares about that? Because you're just lucky to be alive. Who cares about that? So it's like, there's a part of you that feels like you forfeit the right to complain about aesthetics and like the mundane things, but it doesn't make it not true. Like, you're still uncomfortable with having to cart around a tank. You're uncomfortable about having coughing attacks. So what does that feel like to be in that space?
I have a really hard time with that piece, because if I didn't have to wear this or carry that around, you wouldn't know, and that's the way I'd rather it be. But I don't like bringing attention to myself, and that obviously, as I'm wheeling that in somewhere and it's clanking, and you know, I'm bringing attention to myself, and I don't like that piece. And it's
the label of you're sick.
Yeah. And as you said about coughing, if I cough in a store, especially after COVID, oh my gosh, people turn around, they look at you like, and I'm just like, I'm not contagious. But it's something I have to do. So I have to get over that. And that's pride, and I shouldn't be prideful. So, you know, we're given things sometimes that are uncomfortable, and maybe we're given that for lessons and to learn about things. And how many times, like you said, when I was younger, did I look at somebody, or, you know, their and gives you a whole different perspective on things.
Yeah. So. And I just think that you're not often given the forum to be able to say, like, it sucks, you know, like it's not, I don't love this. And people just want to continue to remind you, like, but you're so lucky to be here. And you are, like, that, those can be true again, where like, you're not unappreciative of the fact that you're here, but man, does it suck to have to cart this thing around. Like, can we acknowledge both?
And it's funny you say that, because I do my best to not complain.
Right.
But it absolutely does suck to have to pull it around.
Yeah.
It's heavy. I've got to pick it up and put it in the car, pick it out of the car. Like, sometimes I just, at the end of the day, when I work away from home in DC or in Baltimore, and it's the end of my day and I gotta lift that in, I probably have a little pity party. Gosh, why do I have to do this? This is just so, but I am here, and if that's the worst I gotta do, or that's what I gotta do for the next 3 years to stay here and be here and see my kids get married, see grandkids, well, then so be it. That's what I do.
Is there grief tied to losing parts of your independence, identity, or normalcy that people don't talk about?
I think so. And that has just recently have I thought about that. So there was something I wanted to do or go do, and I was like, I kind of can't. And then I think, no, I'm not going to say I can't. I could, but then everybody's got to wait on me. And then I'm pulling the group down. So I would love to go, like, I take pictures.
Yeah.
So I love to do
that. Was passed along to someone I know.
And I've never been like this big hiker, But I like to go like hike far enough to see waterfalls
Yeah.
and to take cool pictures. And I feel like I can't really do that right now, but I can. I just have to strap my backpack tank
Right.
on.
It's a process.
Yeah, it is. And so then you're like, well, do I really want to go through all that just to go up there for 10 minutes and take pictures, kind of thing. But if it means enough to me, I'll do it.
What do you wish that more people understood about the quiet weight of chronic illness that isn't visible to, in highlight moments?
Patience is hard. There's a reason people pray for patience.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want it to be over with.
Yeah.
But I think, again, there's a reason for everything. And I think when, like for me, going through this, I'm 59, but I'm still learning. Like there's still room for me to learn and to grow as a person. And I've learned a little patience, not be judgy. I think we're made to wait sometimes because we're really not ready.
Yeah.
So I think I know that when it's going to happen, I'm going to be ready.
Yeah. And I think that one for me in this moment in my life, which you couldn't have known, but like I needed to hear that in this moment in life. And I think that's so true of all things is like, God, you wish so hard for some things to pan out quickly. You want so hard to see the other side of it, to be like, this is okay. Like, this is why things are happening in the time of which that they're happening and in the order in which they're happening. And you want to be mad at the fact that you can't get there sooner. Like, why? I want this so bad.
Because there's still something we have to learn.
Yeah.
There's obviously still something.
Yeah. I think that's huge. We'll come back to faith because I know that that's a big thing for you. You're religious. Faith is a big part of your foundation. And I know that this is probably something that, again, a lot of people don't talk about this weight. But the reality of a lung transplant, you mentioned it, but it means somebody has to pass away. How do you spiritually and emotionally carry that truth? Because I've heard in rumor that that's kind of the toughest part for you. How are we navigating that?
Again, like I said, I don't pray for it because
Right.
I don't want to pray for someone else. I just navigating through the whole ordeal. I take it as kind of just navigating through life.
Yeah.
I very much have belief in God, and that probably I think I would have such a different outlook if I didn't have that.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that to go back on, and I think about people who are in this situation and don't have that because I don't know how to explain it. Other than having that relationship with God, just has a peace.
Right.
That you can't explain to anybody that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And it gives you peace in times like this, which sounds weird.
Right.
It doesn't mean we're human.
Right.
It doesn't mean I don't get mad. It doesn't mean I don't get frustrated.
Yeah.
Actually, Morgan's probably heard. I've been frustrated lately.
Yeah.
I won't lie about that. But it's who we are. Like, embrace it all. No, it's okay. It's okay to get mad one day and kick the tank.
Yeah. I would be kicking that tank every day. Oh.
It's okay if I want, stand in my living room and scream for a minute. It's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me less of a person. Doesn't make me less of a Christian. We are human.
Yeah. What conversations have you had with God in the waiting? Because if I'm being completely honest, I am that person where in the depths of despair, in my toughest moments, in the seasons that I have not understood, and in this like waiting game of like, God, just like what is this all for? Why is this happening? I have been the one that has questioned my faith, because I'm like, how, if I believe so deeply in you and I believe so much that things happen for a reason, like, why do you keep throwing it at me? Like, I can only take so much. Have you had conversations like that with God where you're questioning, like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, and I've always heard he doesn't give you more than you can handle, but I also heard
That one ticks
that
me
that
off.
I know
Because
that's
every
not,
time I'm like, I cannot, don't do it.
and
I
I've
can't
also
handle it.
heard that's not true. Just recently,
Yes.
but it's still thanking him every day for what I have.
Yeah.
I can still go to work. I'm still with my kids. I've got good kids.
Yeah.
I got a good husband. I've got wonderful parents, that are up in age and very healthy.
Yeah.
I have, even though I'm going through this, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I just start out my prayer with thank you.
I think that's a huge, I actually just considered getting a gratitude journal, because that's something that has like come up for me over and over again, is like, it's easy to fixate on all of the things that have gone wrong in a day, in a life, in a chapter. And you forget that there's always some piece to be grateful for. There's some lesson, there's some, like you said, like it's bringing you closer in some weird way. So I think the gratitude piece is big. How do you ultimately then make peace with receiving life through loss? Because there will be a day where you get the call and it's a go. How do you make peace with that?
Well, again, it's all part of God's plan. So it wasn't me who took that person's life. I don't know what happened. I pray it wasn't horrible. It was peaceful, and I'll be okay if that's the one that, the set of lungs that was meant for me.
Yeah.
I'll be okay. I am one of those, though, I think, so you're not allowed to find out for a year. I think a year later.
More waiting.
Yeah.
More.
I would like to find out or meet family.
Yeah. Same. It's just so that they kind of know.
Yeah, my husband's like, why? Why would you care? Why would you want to do that?
Oh, I would
Wouldn't
be
that
the
hard?
same.
Like, I most definitely want to.
I would be the one that would be like, if it was a heart transplant, I'd be like, do you want to feel his heartbeat or her heartbeat? I would do the same thing. I would want to give as much as I could back to them of the person that they lost. I'm totally with you on that. Talking a little bit about your mindset of endurance, because that's a big discussion point here in general. But when doctors talked about your life expectancy, you refused to let a timeline dictate anything moving forward in your mind. So how has that mindset shaped your survival?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you I was this great disciplined person and I exercise. I can't tell you that.
That's okay.
If there was probably one other thing I could change, it would be that I was. I would say that in much better shape.
Well, and I would say I'm going to push back a little bit, because you sharpened and toned what I think is actually the strongest muscle, and it's your brain. You were constantly working your brain. And that, for so many people, is the thing that fails them, because they could have been a very physically strong person and they could have worked out every day of their life, and they get this cancer diagnosis and they do get told the expectancy. And they shut down. It's over, because their brain wasn't ready for that diagnosis. So I'm going to push on you a little bit and say, actually, I think you did a lot of working out, and it was all mindset. And I think that's what has allowed you to move forward with this in the way that you have.
Yeah, well, the body probably needs some work too.
Doctors can do that.
I definitely need to work out a little more, and that's one of the things. They want you in good shape for the transplant, because getting up and down, you can't use your hands,
right?
So I still have some work to do there. I was doing really good, and then I kind of slacked off.
We all do that.
Got busy at work, and I really slacked off.
What kept you moving forward when everything was stacked against you medically, emotionally, and physically? What was the thing? I don't know why, but I always almost think of you as like that Mel Robbins. She had like the 3-2-1. She would count down. She was like, I hated getting out of bed, but I started just counting 3-2-1. You're getting up regardless of what's going on. And I feel like when I picture you, I'm like, you did that. Like every day you were like, yep, doesn't matter, getting up, oxygen tank, whatever it is. And we're getting up.
It wasn't that program, but.
But what kept you moving forward when everything, I mean, you think of all these things and you kept getting dished one thing after the next. So what was
My
the forward?
kids.
Yeah.
And even my parents too. I'm an only child, and I just think, oh my gosh, like it sounds horrible. Like I think I'm all that. I don't. But if
we were thinking
I'm
just kidding. We weren't thinking that.
I just think, not where would they be without me, but I know how sad they would be.
Yeah.
My parents are awesome. They have given. They would give you the shirt off their back. They would do anything for me. And I know what, we mean to them.
Yeah.
We, the kids do, as a family. And I'm like, I have to be here for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an only child. I have to take care of them when they get older.
Yeah.
It's me. It's all me. And my kids, I want to be here,
Yeah.
I have too much to see yet. They got a lot to do yet.
Yeah. And babies to have. I'm winking. I'm working off screen. What does grit actually look like for you on the days when your body's exhausted?
Again, I don't say I don't have a choice. We always have a choice. But the fact that I have work, I have a job to do. So I have someone counting on me to get the work done. And I have family counting on me for various things. And I want that. I don't mean that in a bad way. It just, that's what gives me that push. There's too much to do yet to just sit down.
It kills me that there's just too much to do. Somebody's got to do it. You brought this up a little bit, but because, we do talk to a lot of quote unquote, like traditional athletes on this podcast, you never identified as an athlete. You let but your endurance though, and your athleticism and your brain is extraordinary. So how do you define strength now, having gone through all of this?
Let me say, I think I could have been an athlete, but I played ball with my dad. I mean, I could.
You held your own.
Yeah, I could throw a ball.
Yeah.
And I was the one. Jake was little. I was playing catch with him out there. I was kind of, the ball player.
Yeah.
But I wanted my kids in sports because I think you learn so much. Mm-hmm. And you're right. It's strength, it's endurance. I think you learn from it. But there are so many other life lessons. Getting along with people.
Oh my gosh.
Losing.
Yes.
I think you need to learn to lose.
Yeah.
And just how to play nice in the sandbox with others, kind of thing. It's just so much can be learned from sports. And I got to see that, I got to see that with them. And although I didn't play, I watched sports. It was a huge part of my husband's family.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I married into that and got to be such a part of it.
Yeah. I mean, in my conversations with Morgan, it's such a thread, through all of life lessons.
Everything we did revolved around sports.
Yeah.
When we ate dinner, when we could plan vacation, just everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And your husband, I have heard, reminds you on more than a couple occasions that you're not an athlete. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not an athlete. Well,
he does.
Well, she's an athlete. Moving into kind of legacy perspective and the meaning of all of this, how has facing mortality changed the way that you experience just ordinary moments? Being able to go to dinner, being able to show up for sporting events, or being able to show up for what will be a wedding. How do you look at these moments now? The same. Because you kept going.
Yeah. I can tell you probably over the past couple months that I don't know why I've got so much more sentimental. And I've always been sentimental, but this is so different than the cancer, and I don't know why, but like I said, I didn't cry through that. I feel like I cry a lot through this one, but it's not because of needing the transplant or the lungs. It's just, they're good cries, like they're happy cries. Oh, I got to do this. That's so awesome.
I'm like completely in all of your story and just of you, but
I mean, I'm no different than anybody else.
I should say that to everyone listening. This was hilarious to me because I had actually learned of Teresa's story just in passing. I was sitting here one day with Morgan and we were just talking about guests that we were going to have on the podcast, and we were talking about storylines that we wanted to kind of highlight. And Morgan drops this atomic bomb of like, wow, my mom is a cancer survivor and she's a lung transplant candidate and she always showed up and didn't complain. I was like, this feels like not just like a little story, but like a leading story. And Morgan comes back to me and she's like, my mom's a little bit nervous that she doesn't have a big enough story for this. So I was like, well,
I want to do a podcast on it.
Okay.
To do a podcast.
It's like, she is the story. What on earth? And I think that just goes back to just who you are as a person, is like, this is, it isn't really defining who you are. You're still moving through your life in the same way. You're still showing up in the same way. And this is just part of it. And I think that, in listening to it, that's been what has allowed you to survive what could have been earth-shattering moments, is that, okay, it's a part of my story. It isn't who I am yet. It's or ever.
It's all a part of it, though. I mean, it's every bit of it's made me who I am.
Yeah.
Made me question things, made me learn things, made me pull closer in faith. Just how I look at things.
Yeah.
So it's all definitely played a part.
Yeah. If someone listening is currently facing a diagnosis that feels impossible, what do you want them to know?
First of all, don't give up. Make sure you've gotten other opinions. If there's someone who can help you, look into that. But also, even if that diagnosis is true, and this is it, and you have been given a time frame, and it's inevitable, just get your heart right and be able to go in peace, and don't leave anything undone or unsaid.
Yeah, I love that. And I think even without a diagnosis in play, like, I think we all need to start operating in that way a little more too. Is like, we don't know if we're going to go in and be given this life-changing news. So like, don't save the things that shouldn't be saved. If you love someone, tell them. If you want to hug somebody, hug somebody. If you want to go somewhere, do it. What has this journey taught you about control versus surrender?
We're not in control.
I love to think that I have some control, and I've been told I don't ever.
Okay, Morgan will tell you I'm a control freak. If I want something done A, B, C, and you do it A, C, B, I'm like, no.
Well, there it is. There's the lesson that God's wanting you to come closer. He's like, Teresa,
it doesn't matter.
You don't get to control it all. Yes.
And so you're right. Like, that's the one lesson I'm still working.
Yeah, because I was trying to find it. I'm like, what does she still have to learn? What? This is bull crap. There's nothing left for her to learn, but that's it. You're not going to be able to control your circumstances. If the version of you who stopped the doctor from giving a life expectancy could see you now, what do you think she'd say?
Here we go again. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
God, I want your brain. After cancer, chronic illness, transplant waiting, and showing up for your children through it all, who did you have to become in order to endure this chapter of your life?
I don't think I had to become anybody but me, who
Yeah.
I am. And I wouldn't change
Yeah.
any of it.
Yeah. Folks, we all need a Teresa in our lives. And in closing, when everything in your life said to stop, what made you keep choosing to live forward anyway? Is she sitting right here?
Yeah. My kids.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's like one of those weird things where everybody talks about it. You don't know really unless you've experienced having a child. Like, God, I would go to the ends of the earth for this human. And you're not a part of that anymore. Like it's only them. And that's kind of where all the decisions stem from.
I remember saying that in the interview that I did for the hospital. I don't have all the answers. I never read all the books on how to become a parent and what's right and what's wrong. And I did a lot of things wrong. I'm not perfect, but I'm their parent and they still need me.
Yeah.
And I'll be here until they don't need me.
Yeah. I guess the last thing that pertains to your kids, what do you want them to take away about resilience and having watched you, like from their vantage point, having seen you physically change, having you go through this emotional, physical toll? Like, what do you want them to walk away from having learned about resilience and hope and faith?
So absolutely faith first.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to ever give up. And I don't know if she told you this, but I did something else that was really hard for me after the cancer, because I had to prove to myself I could be told I wasn't good enough and it was okay. And I did it for them. But I tried out for The Voice.
I did too.
Did you?
Yes. Stop.
That is so
Morgan, what?
and my thought was, I know I won't make it all the way.
Yeah.
But there's a couple things here. Years before the cancer, if you would have said to me, oh, you didn't make it, I would have just been, oh, I'm not good enough. I've been embarrassed. It would have been horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I needed to, it's okay
Yeah.
to be told no.
Yeah.
And life doesn't end. And the second thing, so that was the part for me.
Yeah.
The second part was to show my kids, always follow your dream, try it. And even if you don't succeed, the experience is worth it.
It was a really cool experience. And to your point, like, don't put off to tomorrow what you really want to do. It's just not.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere. But the experience I got from it and the fact that I can say I tried.
Yeah.
That's like one of the things I wanted them to take.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's such a good message of, even when you're well, fight for the things you want to fight for, try the things you want to try, and what's the best that can happen, you know? Yeah. Awesome. Teresa, it has been such a pleasure having you here today, and I can't even believe that you thought that this story wasn't worth sharing. We are done. I'm done nailing you with all of the tough questions. You didn't cough. Look at this. She didn't cough. And for those of you that can't see it, the oxygen tank's actually kind of cute. I'm going to say it. Well, Teresa, we so appreciated you coming and sharing your story. And I know that it probably gives a lot of people hope and maybe even some relief. And I just deeply appreciate you being so vulnerable and willing to share your story.
Sure. I hope you got something out of it.
Oh my gosh, we got a lot of this. This has been The Grid Files, and I'm your host, Laura Reynolds, signing off.